Good morning, everybody. Hope your coffee's as good as mine. Hell, I hope it's better. And that's saying a lot because my coffee's hitting pretty damn good this morning. Let's dig right in. This is going to be a good show. I'm going to enjoy this. Good morning, everybody. Just a quick bit of information here. You're going to want to be here for Friday's show. I got a special guest that may be popping in. It looks like it's a done deal. Of course, nothing's ever done until you cross the old threshold, but it looks like we've got a really good guest coming in on Friday. So you're going to want to be here for that. I promise you. It's a surprise. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but you're going to enjoy this. You're going to enjoy it. Well, look, today's show, we're less than 6 weeks out, 41 days to November 5th. And at this point, I think it's really about motivating. I don't think there are any undecideds. News media keeps talking about undecided voters. I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. I don't believe there are undecideds left out there. I just don't. I think that what's left to do is to motivate our people and get people to show up. It is. It's just that's just it. That is what we've got to do. We've got to get people there to show up. Period. That's what's going to make the difference. So what I want to talk about today is the difference between us and them. What are you voting for? What are you doing, man? That's where I think the most benefit can be gained. That's where I think we're going to do the most good, is if we just talk about the differences, because they're so stark, folks. They're just so stark. If we talk about the differences between us and them, and it's not just Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. It's everything that comes with them. And yes, if we show up, we win. Period. I mean, it's really that simple. If we show up, we win. I want to talk about why we need to show up. To begin with, let's look at our vision for America. And you got to forgive me. There's going to be quite a few clips this show. I just believe in letting them talk. Let them run. But I want to start with this. This is one vision for America. It's not mine. I don't think it's yours. I mean, is this what you think? I mean, is this what you think America ought to be? I don't. Well, I love to hunt. I love my guns. You got dove season this time of year. It's not even about guns. And I want to take a second to talk to our international audience. And I'm giving the internet connection a few minutes to see if it clears up, because what statistics are showing me that it's running plenty fast. It should be clearing up for you folks. You should be able to see me clearly. But yeah, is this is this what we want for America? Is this what you want for America? Is this your vision for America? Because I promise you, this is MAGA's vision for America. They don't do this just because. They do it to make a statement. These two guys had no reason whatsoever to do this other than they just wanted to make this statement. You can see the shit-eating grin on the guy on the left. And I just want to assure our international audience, this is not normal. This is not your everyday American. It's just not. It's not your everyday American. It is, forgive me, I'm going to adjust here just a second. All right. Fight me. I don't care. There we go. There we go. Sorry about that, guys. Should have done that before the show. But yeah, this is not normal America. We don't do this. This is shocking to us too. And that's why they did it. That's why they did it. They did it to be shocking. They're trying to normalize this crap. They just are. All right, let me try saying it's still blurry. Let me try another step. I have invested in additional resources so that we've got more than one system. Let's see if we can make this work. See if we can make this a little better. I should blink for just a second. Because this is Texas, because clears up. See if that clears up for you. We've got a third system we can go to. I have two redundant systems for internet because that's just the way it is here in Texas. So, yeah, let's take a look at the differences. You've got the Gravy SEALs there, Meal Team 6. You've got their people. What are our people doing? What are our people doing? This. Yeah, I mean, you've got our administration doing their job. That's what we're doing. I mean, two very stark realities. You've got every bit of their Congress, and if they get a hold of the White House, every bit of their White House trying to make sure that nuttery, that homosexuality, the Gravy SEALs are what's normal in this country. What do we do? This. The job, man. The job. And I think that's what gets lost so much in this election season. That becomes about personality. How did this person look? How did that person look? What did they do? No, it's a job, man. This is a job interview. This is asking for a job. And Kamala Harris is part of this administration. They have negotiated with the NFL because hurricanes typically hit in the summer anyway. So the stadiums aren't really being used until fall, and that's not hurricane season. They're working out contracts so they can say, hey, look, in case of an emergency, we would like to pay you for the right to take over your stadiums because they're really great for setting up field hospitals. They're really great for places for people to go in cases of emergency. They're designed to move a lot of people very quickly. How great is that? I mean, how great is that while we were doing our thing, whatever you were doing over the last couple of weeks, this administration was thinking, hey, emergencies happen. We should be prepared for it. It's like going back to COVID. They had a game plan. You know this. We've talked about this hundreds of times. We've talked about this. They had a game plan in place. Literally, in a notebook that said, in case of pandemic, break glass and use this. The Trump administration threw it away. Dissolved all the organizations designed to support that. I mean, that's the difference. I mean, are you feeling what I'm laying down here? It's a job, man. It's a job. And the guy running for the Republicans that wants the job did this yesterday. I mean, he was in Georgia talking to the people of Georgia all day, nowhere else. And he puts this out: a great day in Louisiana. Let that soak in. Man spent all day in Georgia. And he puts out on his failing social media platform, great day in Louisiana. Well, I bet it was a great day in Louisiana because your sorry ass was in Georgia. But yeah, I mean, are you getting it? Are you getting it? Now, I'm going to play something for you. I love to do this with you. I love the live chat. I love you people in the audience. I kind of like to keep it interactive. I'm going to play you a clip, and I want you to see if you could spot what's wrong with it. This is Trump yesterday in Georgia. Tell me if you can spot what's wrong here.
Isn't it nice, by the way, to have a president that doesn't need a teleprompter? Isn't it nice? Because isn't it nice, by the way, to have a president that doesn't need a teleprompter?
This is not a manipulated image. I'm not even going to say it. I'll leave it up to you. What's wrong with this image? He is literally looking dead at that teleprompter. Yeah, I mean, this is the guy that says he wants the job. I mean, this is the guy that says he wants the job. Make me the most powerful person in the world. And he says stupid stuff like that. And when he talks about economics, he says stupid stuff like this.
And by the way, for years they knocked the word tariff, properly used, is a beautiful word. One of the most beautiful words I've ever heard. It's music to my ears. A lot of bad people didn't like that word, but now they're finding out I was right. And we will take in hundreds of billions of dollars into our treasury and use that money to benefit the American citizens. And it will not cause inflation, by the way.
Okay. For any of the folks that might be in the audience that are joining us that aren't quite as savvy as the rest of our audience, it's okay. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here to learn something. I really am. I'm glad you're here to learn something. Randy, I appreciate the support, my guy. I really do. You let me do this full time, and I'm always grateful for it. Mr. Newton's in the house. I sure do appreciate you, my guy in Norway. Trump wants the job, but he's the laziest and most incompetent employee ever. Toss his application. I hear you. So let's talk about it. He wants to talk about it, so let's talk about it. For the rest of us that didn't fall asleep in high school, where they taught us about the Hawley Smoot tariffs and they taught us what tariffs were and taught us, some of us did not sleep through this. This is high school level. This is not advanced economics. This isn't Wharton. By the way, his grades dropped and apparently he had a GPA of like 1.38 and they graduated him anyways. But that's stuff that's just breaking right now, and I want to flesh it out before we get too far down that road. But yeah, so let's talk about tariffs. Tariffs suck. It's not a beautiful word. It's not. If you're in trade negotiations, which you always are if you're president, it's part of the job, right? Trade negotiations. And the word tariffs come up, it's all gone wrong. It's all gone wrong. That is literally the nuclear bomb of trade negotiations. It is. I mean, you have failed at every diplomatic effort to negotiate a trade deal, to negotiate trade, to negotiate with whomever, whether it be China or India or Brazil or any of these economies, these other countries and their growing economies. They want to be the United States, man. Why not? Everybody wants success. If you can't negotiate with them for fair trade practices and you have to go to tariffs, that means everything else has failed. Everything. Thank you. The art of the bad deal. Cat bacon, perfect. Perfect. So yeah, no, I'm not a bad person for saying tariffs are bad. Tariffs are bad. He thinks they're good. Folks, again, for anybody that may not know this, if I want to sell a cup and you don't want this cup in your country, so you put a 20%, 25% tariff on it, I don't pay that. I don't. I don't pay that. It goes into the price of the cup. You pay it. You pay it when you try to buy it. And what are they importing here overseas? Are they importing a bunch of crap you don't want to buy? No, let's be honest. How many of you go to Walmart? How many of you go to the dollar stores? All the different dollar stores. There's got to be a dozen different kinds of dollar stores out there, all full of crap. I mean, hell, it's fall. We're all going to go buy some pumpkins and fall flowers and fall silk flowers and all that other stuff. And they don't make that in Alabama. So when you go to buy it, well, now it's automatically 20 to 25% more expensive, right? Well, here we are in the United States. It's a little bit more expensive to produce and do things because our economy operates on a level that's up here, and China and India are, right about here. So the costs are a little higher here. Everybody knows this. This is basic economics. So we slap tariffs on their goods. What do? They slap tariffs on ours. They retaliate, right? That's why tariffs are so bad. So not only are the cost of everything that you wanted to buy from them, because again, this is business, folks. Nobody's importing a bunch of crap you don't want to buy. They're importing what you want to buy. Well, now they're going to slap tariff on our goods, which are already expensive. We have to compete with quality. We have to compete with availability. We've got to compete with service. We can't compete on the cost of labor. We can't. So now our products are just that much more expensive over there. We've hurt our business and our products have gotten more expensive. What does that make your economy look like? And they tell me my rhetoric is the problem. They tell me my rhetoric is the problem. Let's compare that. Let's compare all of what we just talked about. I know that's kind of a bummer. I don't like to talk about it, but that's the way it is. With this, and I want to tell you, this is not my audio problem. This audio is going to crackle for you. This was an Oprah problem, not a Paul problem, okay? But you can hear it. I've listened to it a couple times just to make sure it's good. But yeah, don't freak out about the crackling. That's not me. There's another person that wants the job, talking about a very serious issue here.
Justin, where are you in the audience? Justin,
Hello.
in our audience.
Hello, Madam Vice President.
You live in Michigan.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't love saying hello, Madam Vice President.
I do.
What's your question? It's an immigration question.
Question for you is, when you become president, what would be your specific steps? Yeah, of course. What would be specific steps to strengthening the border?
So it's a wonderful and important question. My background was as a prosecutor, and I was also the elected attorney general for 2 terms of a border state. So this is not a theoretical issue for me. This is something I've actually worked on.
Okay.
I have prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. I take very seriously the importance of having a secure border and ensuring the safety of the American people. Sadly, where we are now can be traced most recently back to the fact that when the United States Congress, members of the Congress, including some of the most conservative Republicans, came up with a border security bill. And here's what that border security bill would have done. It would have put 1,500 more border agents at the border. Let me tell you, those border agents are working around the clock. It would have just been about giving them some support and relief, which is probably why the border agents actually endorsed the bill. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl. And I'm looking at people from all over the country here. So I don't need to tell the folks who are watching this what fentanyl has done to families, to kids in our country, and the need to take seriously stemming the flow coming into our country and addressing that extraordinary and tragic issue in terms of its effect. The bill would have allowed us to have more resources to prosecute transnational criminal organizations.
I want to pause it for 1 second because this is an important conversation, sub conversation to have on all this. Do you hear how clearly and eloquently she's talking about all this? But she just touched upon fentanyl. Let me tell you something. I just want to throw this out there real quick, and let's not lose the point of what she's saying here. But this is important. This is why who you put in office is important. Americans use drugs. We do. Drugs run on a capitalistic system. They do. That's not debatable. It's supply and demand. All capitalistic systems try to do the same thing. They try to decrease what economists call inputs. And what that means is if you look at the crops that farmers are growing, they are growing crops that require fewer and fewer people. The combines are getting bigger and bigger. The crops that take a lot of labor, you're seeing those less and less. You've got the agro companies that are genetically modifying our food to make it to where it can be handled by equipment more and more without bruising, without damage. The rind on watermelons is getting thicker and more durable. Tomatoes. You don't get those nice, soft, squishy heirloom tomatoes anymore. All the tomatoes you buy, even the expensive ones, they're firm. They don't bruise easily. It's made for automatic processing. And why automatic processing? To get fewer and fewer hands involved, less people you have to pay. That's capitalism. Tying that to drugs. Drug manufacturing is the same thing. Fentanyl. The reason fentanyl is so huge is exactly that capitalistic principle. Take heroin, for example. If you don't know where heroin comes from, it comes from a flower, poppy flower. Makes a bulb. When it makes the bulb, Afghanistan is a huge producer of poppy flowers. Same places where you get your poppy seeds from. Same flower, by the way. They walk out, different variety, but same flower. They will walk out while the poppy seed shoots up and makes a bulb, and they will take a razor blade and they'll slice the outer portion of that bulb, and they'll let it weep. And what it weeps out is unprocessed heroin. It's a sticky tar-like substance, and they scrape it off and collect it, and they process that into heroin. It is a labor-intensive, long process. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you. Under construction, thank you. I appreciate you. So you following me here? It's labor-intensive. Right, correct. Opium. Heroin's processed from opium. Fentanyl can be fabricated whole cloth utilizing base chemicals in a factory. It can. You've got machines mass producing the base chemicals that they use to mix to create fentanyl. China is a huge manufacturer of these. And it comes actually from legitimate sources. Fentanyl is a sedative used in the medical industry. Well, they found out that they can stick fentanyl in other drugs. You know, you've heard of the concept of cutting drugs, right? Lacing drugs. Well, cocaine is a natural product. You need a coca crop. You need people to harvest the coca crop. You need people to process the coca crop. It grows in a very mountainous region. You can't just put a harvester on the side of a mountain and let it go. It's labor intensive. Well, they figured out you can take some cocaine and cut it by 20, 25% with fentanyl. You've got a product with more profit, less inputs. So fentanyl is making its way into every drug. And where I'm going with this is this rhetoric around fentanyl is feeding the for-profit prison system. Because what's the answer these right-wingers always come up with? Simplistic and stupid. Well, we just need to be meaner and harsher on these drug users. Fentanyl's bad. Fentanyl. Scare the shit out of people. Get them to vote. Get them to vote for them righties. Them immigrants are carrying that fentanyl. No, they're not. It's in 55-gallon drums and it's shipped across the border in the back of trucks. But you get where I'm going with this, folks? Everything now has fentanyl in it. If it's cocaine or heroin or speed or anything, it's easier to get fentanyl than it is to get the products to cook meth here in the United States. Fentanyl is going into everything. So they arrest people that are just end users that are using drugs. Because guess what? Americans like their drugs. If you haven't figured that out, they're selling them here for capitalistic reasons. We buy them. But now they're pumping our prisons full of people that are just end users. They're just drug users. Doesn't mean they're violent. It doesn't mean they're criminal. I mean, it means they're criminals, yes, because they're using drugs. That's a misstatement. I'm sorry. Let me back that up. They are criminal, but they're not violent criminals. They're just people that do recreational drugs, which I don't approve of. But shit, I'm not even much of a drinker, to be honest with you. Much less doing drugs. But you see where I'm going with this? This is a problem, and we need to keep an eye on this. Anyways, I want to continue back with what we're doing. They're going to use this fentanyl scare, the Republicans are, to feed their private prison complex. They're going to intentionally target the same people they've always targeted. It's just a new iteration of the same old thing. But anyways, let's finish listening to Kamala Harris. She's applying for a job here.
And it would have been part of the solution. And Donald Trump called up those folks and said, don't put that bill on the floor for a vote. He blocked the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And he has put his personal political security before border security. Because understand, even in the intervening months, what that bill would have done to give support to folks who care about this issue. And this again gets to the point about what does leadership really look like? And is it about you or is it about the people? Right. Is it about running on problems or fixing problems? My work and my career has always been about saying, let's fix problems. Let's address the needs because we know it's within our capacity to do that.
So to answer Justin's question, now that that bill has gone and hasn't passed, will you reintroduce that?
Absolutely. And when I am elected president of the United States, I will make sure that bill gets to my desk and I will sign it into law.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Justin.
Listen to this.
I want to thank Willie Quinn for posting that to his Instagram, and that's who provided us with that clip. Thanks for doing the work. I appreciate it. Yeah, what a difference, right? I mean, what a difference between the two. Tariffs are beautiful. I have the best tariffs. Versus that. Hey, you know what? We had a functioning bill that provided scanners at the border with backscatter imagery so that we could see inside trucks and we could stop this. Provided more Border Patrol agents so that they could actually work at the ports. You know, the majority of Border Patrol agents aren't what you see in Hollywood where they're like driving around out in the desert. That's the worst part of that job, man. Most of them work at our ports of entry looking in the back of trucks. Yeah. You got one person that's talking about real policy, real bills that are going to come up, and another person that says, you know what, everything that you've ever heard about tariffs is wrong. Mine are beautiful. And yeah, I'm not going to totally destroy your economy, and it's not going to cause inflation, even though it means an immediate 25% tax on everything that you have to buy. Two different people running for the job. Just listen to what they're saying. That's all I'm saying. Take a second, if you will, hit the thumbs up button. Let's get as many people in here as we possibly can. So let's talk about the team. Because, you know, let's be honest. You're not just voting for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. You're not. You're voting for the team. You're voting for the people around these people. You know, the best people, I hire the best people. Well, these are the best people. This is put out by, I blew it up. It's a little blurry. This was put out by Trump's campaign for the people of Georgia because he spent all day in Georgia. This was off their campaign website, this image. Just like I tell you all the time, hey, we're down to less than 42 days. We're 41 days, less than 6 weeks from the election, which means take 30 days off of that because most states are like Texas where you can't do anything 30 days within the election. They won't let you register. They won't let you. Some states are fantastic, and the folks in the chat will tell you about their states that have same-day registration, that believe in democracy more than states like Texas does. But most states, because Republicans don't like people voting because that's bad for Republicans, we're running short on time. You got 11 days to verify and check your registration. They're telling their people too. They are. This is from the Trump campaign. Register to vote, vote for Trump, check your registration. You people are amazing, and I love to be interactive with you. I'm going to ask you folks, can you tell me what's wrong with this image? This is supposed to be Georgia. This was meant to really connect with the people of Georgia. I bet our European audience spotted it right away. I don't know if the people working on his campaign are just that stupid, or, it's freaking Russians working directly for him. But that is not the state of Georgia. I've spent a good deal of time in the state of Georgia. There's nowhere in the state of Georgia that looks like that. There just isn't. That is the country of Georgia. And you're not just hiring the person, you're hiring the entire team. And that's their team. That's their team. It's not just the person, it's the people around them. And speaking of the people around them, I've warned you folks multiple times. We're going to talk about Project 2025. I've warned you about Kevin Roberts. My alarm, but I'm very good at spotting people. And it's so rare that I'm wrong that I actually have a memory of when I've been wrong. And I'll give you an example. Do y'all remember Elizabeth Smart when she was kidnapped and disappeared? When she was kidnapped. Elizabeth Smart. You remember that old story? Her dad, I was telling Mrs. Textball, something ain't right there. Something is not right there. Something is not. He sets my red flags off. Yeah, in Utah. I was wrong. He was absolutely not involved in that. He wasn't. I mean, that's how rarely I'm wrong about people. It sticks in my mind when I get it wrong. And I will tell you, Kevin Roberts sets off my alarm bells. I watched the man speak. And for those folks that need a reminder who Kevin Roberts is, this is Kevin Roberts, good friend of Donald Trump, running the 2025 project for him, handling all the funding and the HR, hiring the people so that Donald Trump can just take the people that Kevin Roberts here vets and puts into a job, fills out all their federal employment paperwork so that Donald Trump can immediately, with as little effort as possible, gut our institutions and put people in the jobs that are sycophants to Donald Trump. Kevin Roberts has always set off my alarm bells. He's always been a radical religious zealot. I'm not talking about your everyday Christian. I'm not. This guy is always on beyond the edge. He's the guy that's got a hold of the edge and is pulling it. And he's always, I've said there's something not right about the guy. Well, it turns out the guy may actually be a functioning sociopath. Yeah, this story just broke. The folks at The Guardian, I've told you many times, The Guardian they're a British news outlet. They've got an American desk. They do great reporting. They went and did some background checking on some stories corporate media wouldn't take a look at. When Kevin Roberts was Professor Roberts and he was living in Las Cruces, New Mexico, not that long ago, actually, he had a neighbor, and the neighbor dog barked, and he didn't like it. So he told people that he worked with that he beat the dog to death with a shovel. Now, mind you, according to this reporting, he wasn't being attacked by the dog. His family wasn't being attacked by the dog. He just didn't like the dog. And he told his coworkers he beat the dog to death with a shovel. And it gets worse too. I mean, the people that own the dog have seen the story and they're like, my God, we didn't know if he ran away or if someone stole him. Our dog just disappeared. It just disappeared. He didn't even, I mean, this was not like something hey, your dog attacked me, so I had to kill it. You know, tell the neighbors your dog's gone. No. And one of the things that just really sets off freaking alarm bells about this. Yeah, he just got rid of the dog. The neighbors had no idea what happened to the dog. They thought it either ran away or got stolen. They didn't know. That's sick, man. And I got a psychologist that I follow that said, you know, there is a very big red flag there. He didn't just do it. He felt the need to tell people he did it. See, he was a conservative working with a bunch of liberals. And he got his jollies off telling these liberals that he did this. That is a huge, huge, huge red flag. And this guy is thick as thieves with Trump. He is literally the guy that has facilitated Project 2025. All the funding that, you know, it's not free to run an HR department to hire people to work in administration, which is part of Project 2025. This is the guy that goes to the billionaires, gets the money, does the administration, makes sure that the people that are writing, you know, Project 2025 have written Project 2025 and are pushing it and helping convert it to Agenda 47. I love you people. I love you people. So I know I say that so many times. I love you people. Yeah. They've taken Project 2025, they've turned it into a campaign document, and now they call it Agenda 47. It is literally Trump's campaign platform. So when you hear some right-winger spread some nonsense, oh, this has been debunked, Trump said he had nothing to do with it, therefore he had nothing to do with it. It's literally his campaign. And this guy, Kevin Roberts, is the one that's going to be inside the White House, that's going to be the one that you're hiring with Trump. It's not just Trump. It's everyone around him. Although Trump is bad enough, just want to remind you folks of who Trump is. This is this is Mark Esper. He's a guy that I have deep philosophical differences with. He felt fit to work in the Trump campaign. He was fired by Donald Trump, and this is why.
The president is ranting at the room. He's using a lot of, foul language. You all are effing losers, right? He's going to finally give a direct order to deploy paratroopers into the streets of Washington, D.C., and I'm thinking with weapons and bayonets. And this would be horrible.
What specifically was he suggesting that the U.S. military should do to these protesters?
He says, can't you just shoot them? Just shoot them in the legs or something. And he's suggesting that that's what we should do, that we should bring in the troops and shoot the protesters.
The commander-in-chief was suggesting that the U.S. military shoot protesters.
Yes, in the streets of our nation's capital. That's right.
So yeah, these people that are trying to run defense for Donald Trump, telling you he won't set up camps, he won't deport Americans, which is part of Project 2025. I mean, he said it himself. We're going to show some more clips of him saying some outrageous stuff today. Yeah, that's the guy that behind closed doors, shoot him. Just shoot him. Yeah, that's Mark Esper. That's Mark Esper. I have deep philosophical differences with Mark Esper. One thing that I do share with him is a value that, you don't shoot American protesters. You just don't. We have the manpower to deal with protests. You don't just start willy-nilly shooting Americans. That whole First Amendment thing, that whole ability to publicly disagree with your government, yeah, that's all part of that. You just don't. But Donald Trump, the guy that wants the job again, ordered it. He did. It was Mark Esper, and he fired him for not doing it. Compare that with the people that are going to be around Kamala Harris. It's an unrelated subject, but you get the idea.
Because I think it's incredible that actually the biggest scandal of the year is a policy scandal, is Project 2025. Most people say elections aren't really about policy anymore, but if you think about it, the biggest scandal, the one that actually had Republicans the most afraid, the one that has the president doing damage control, it's not a criminal cover-up. Well, they had one of those too. It's not a sex tape. It's the simple fact that they wrote down their own policies. That is the thing that they might not recover from. Because I think...
Yeah, you've got a guy, think about it. And Mark Esper wasn't the worst of the people that worked in the Trump administration. And we had a guy that sold frickin' hot tubs in the administration. We had a guy, just compare that with Pete Buttigieg, who's going to be, I promise you, she will be part of the Kamala Harris administration. He will. You're hiring the team, folks. You're hiring the team. And it's not just, just the individual. Although the difference between the individuals couldn't be starker. And you're also, let's be honest. When Donald Trump won in 2016, it put awful on steroids. It just did. Any successes they have feeds them. It feeds their movement. The amosexuals in Chick-fil-A, they didn't feel comfortable doing that 20 years ago, 10 years ago. It is fed. When these awful people have successes, it feeds them. It provides energy into their movements. That's why you're seeing white nationalists that are becoming so prevalent. So yeah, it is more than just, do I like this person or that person, or is politics a game? Is my team winning? No, there's a lot at stake, people. It is the future of our country. And I just want to juxtapose. I want to play this clip. It's from the 5 on Fox. And then it compares it to CNN and how right-wing CNN has become an MSNBC. Just the difference in the coverage of the new crime statistics that have come out. To just kind of give you an idea of what's at stake, okay? That's our whole theme for today. What's at stake? And I just, again, I know I'm beating this to death, but folks, it is so much more than just, do you like Kamala Harris or do you like Donald Trump or it is so much more than that. It affects our entire culture and our media, because when we defeat Donald Trump again, and if you show up and we defeat him, not just squeak by or just, oh no, like Joe Biden did or worse. Let's get 100 million people to show up and vote. You've got a couple weeks left to get your people out, to get your people registered, to encourage people, to volunteer, to keep the momentum going. But yeah, it's this. This dies. This loses its audience. It loses its oxygen and its energy if we keep handing them losses. That's what's really, really on the table.
The murder capital of the country, New Orleans, is not included. Chicago, not included.
New York City,
LA, not
Los
included.
Angeles.
Besides all the major metropolitan areas.
What Jesse Waters is trying to say there is we had some crime statistics a couple years ago, and they tried something different. They said, look, something like take Uvalde, for instance. A one-off incident like that will skew numbers greatly. It will not give you a real sense of what's happening across the country. So what they did was they said, okay, look, we've got like Chicago. You've got this gang territory that's not all of Chicago. Ask anybody that lives in Chicago. Chicago's a great city. It's not dangerous, but there are a couple neighborhoods that are just gang havens, and they're trying to get a handle on it, but it is the gang capital of America, for Christ's sake, in some of these areas in Southside Chicago. And these statistics are gang on gang violence, and they skewed the statistics. So a couple of years ago, they made a stupid decision, and they said, we're not going to include those numbers in the statistics because they skew what's really going on in the country. And it was a valid argument, because I make this argument all the time about Texas. Not with crime statistics. Everybody likes to pretend here in Texas that we're rich. Texas is a rich state. And I keep reminding people, no, we're not. If you took 500 people off the top, there are millions and millions of people that live in Texas. Let me get the current, off the top of my head, I don't remember exactly what our current population is. Let me look it up in Texas. All right, 30 million plus people. Depending on who you ask, it's either 30.5 or 32 million people live in the state of Texas. If you removed 500 people, the top 500 earners in the state of Texas, from the statistics, you would get a much better picture of what Texas is, because we would look a lot more like Mississippi than California. So I understand the argument of not including that, but it was a mistake, because for one, it gave Jesse Waters this talking point where he's going to sit there and he's going to claim that he's going to tell his people on the right that the numbers that just came out, which are fantastic, 12% reduction in murder and manslaughter, 9% reduction in rape, 2.5% reduction in property crimes. The only crime that didn't see a significant reduction is hate crimes. I wonder why. But what Jesse Waters here is telling them, it's fake. The big cities aren't in there. No, they didn't do that this time. The big cities are in those statistics, and the statistics look great. The reason they want to fight that so much is they're trying to tell their people everything's gone to hell in a handbasket, and it hasn't. The economy is fantastic. Crime was low. Remember, these statistics are from period to period to period to period. So when we say they dropped 12%, they were low to begin with. They've dropped an additional 12%. We're talking about the end of the Obama presidency levels of crime. You remember how great the economy is? The economy is good. Crime is always down. It's just the way it works. People are busy working and making money. There aren't as many desperate people. We're back to those levels again, folks. But this is what Jesse Waters is falsely telling the right.
The murder capital of the country, New Orleans, is not included. Chicago,
City,
not included.
New York City,
LA, not
Los
included.
Angeles.
Besides all the major
If
metropolitan
individual
areas with all the homicides,
departments had said
everything
it's
else is
done.
fine.
That's it.
These things move very quickly across the internet.
Now here's
But these
CNN.
FBI statistics leave room for questions because there are a lot of cities, major cities like Los Angeles, that are not providing
hold
that
on.
information.
I'm sorry to interrupt
them.
you again, but I just, because we looked this up, I've
Mm-hmm.
heard this before. The FBI addressed this today. Those major cities now are reporting their crime statistics. So
But they
the
didn't
numbers,
in 23 on these numbers. When you
They-
go to the
so-
FBI website, they're not there,
well, let me-
especially for homicides
let
in
me,
LA.
let me answer what you're saying. So now they do. Los Angeles, New York, all the major cities, any city with over 1 million people, those police departments report into these statistics.
Across the board. And it's important to point out because you'll hear Donald Trump and others say, well, big cities are left out of this FBI data. That's not true. It was true in 2021 when they changed the way they collected the data. This data set includes every city of more than 1 million people, and it covers 94% of the U.S. population. Now, there are different ways of measuring crime, and there's a Justice Department victim survey that tries to capture crime that wasn't reported to police, and that shows some different numbers. But overall, it agrees that violent crime right now is about the same level it was in 2019 before the pandemic. And that survey doesn't measure murder. Murder, the drop is really is remarkable. And every murder is counted in the United States. There are no hidden murders. So it's really some remarkable good news. And it's distressing that people don't agree on the facts because the facts are right out in front of us, Chris.
So yeah, you see the difference between what Fox gets fed and these right-wing MAGA people. Then they're trying to do that on CNN. We have this host on CNN that stepped up and said, no, that's wrong. They did that back in 2020, 2021 to try to keep the aberrations from skewing the data, which was a mistake, always a mistake. Just report it as it comes. Yeah, we got some great news, folks. Murder and manslaughter down 12%. Boom. Fantastic. How does that play? The two people applying for the job. How does that fit? You got one side that's just making crap up, trying to keep people as scared as possible, lying their ass off about what's going on in the country because they got nothing to run on. And the other side that's saying, you know what? We do have practical issues with our immigration system that we need to address. We need more judges. We need more border patrol. We need to we need to modernize our ports of entry to make them more efficient. The difference between the two, reality and professionalism versus insanity and just made up crap. Those are your job candidates, man. And I just want to hammer it home how crazy it is. Listen to what Trump says here about the debt. This will blow your mind.
I'm curious what you think the future of crypto looks like if, God forbid, you don't win the election.
Future crypto, what does it look like? Well, I think it's a good future. Who knows about anything today? But I think it's a good future. I tell you what.
The audio is a little difficult there. He says, God forbid you don't get elected. What do you think about the future of crypto?
But you look at values, you look at what's happening and where it's come and where it came from. I think crypto's got a great future. I think it really does. Maybe we'll pay off the $35 trillion in crypto. I'll write out a little piece of paper, 35 trillion crypto. We have no debt. Right?
Do you know what that does to world markets? Obviously doesn't understand what cryptocurrency is. Yet he's grifting off of it, trying to have his own crypto grift going on. But then he says he's just going to invent $35 trillion with crypto and cancel our national debt with it. Folks, the United States, we have such fantastic people from around the world in here. Ask them what this does in their countries, because we are a big country. We kind of lose track of that. how much larger we are than, like, say, these individual European countries. And I don't mean landmass. I mean both economically and the number of people. It's just a big operation here. To hear the person running for the job who just says things like, I'm going to slap a 25% tariff on everything. And yeah, I'm just going to run a blank check full of crypto and just erase our national debt. My God. My God. And he's saying it out loud. This isn't like a backroom conversation. He's standing at a podium with a microphone. Versus, compare that to Kamala Harris and Tim Walz and their view of us in the world. I'm going to play you one more clip from Donald Trump, and then I want to move on to Tim Walz and J.D. Vance, because, like I said, you're hiring the team. This is how Trump feels about Russia and us.
And it's our fault because it's a war that should have never been allowed to happen, and we had the power that it would never have happened. And it's our fault because it's a war that should have never been allowed.
Okay. Trump talking about Russia invading Ukraine. Our fault. It's our fault. Not Russia's fault. Our fault. It's our fault. We did this. No, Russia did this. Russia did this. This is not our fault. Russia decided to be that country. But he can't help but excuse and talk up everything Russia does. And he cannot help but deride our country. Our country is going to hell. No, it's not. It's amazing right now. It is amazing right now. It just is. Things are great and getting better all the time. And with this next election, folks, you have the power to put that crap back in the horse. There's an old saying, you can't put the crap back in the horse. This time you can. Or actually, it would be more accurate is you get to shovel it off, throw it in the back of the truck, and haul it away. Because if we keep handing them these losses, their energy goes away. These dumbasses, these 70, 80-year-old billionaires that are just pumping money into this, won't do it forever. One, they're going to die of old age. They just are. That's just life, folks. We just don't live to be healthy, active people. Most of us don't into our 90s and 100s. It just doesn't happen. But other than that, they're not complete and utter morons. They see a loser when they see a loser. And you just suck the energy out of these movements. But I can't promise you Trump's going to go away. I can't. This has been the easiest and best money he's ever made. And he's going to do it to the day he dies. And this is why. This is the kind of stuff that's happening. I'm going to play you a clip of Melania. Melania made an appearance.
All right, hopefully that's on. So first
You know
of
what?
all,
I don't
thank
even
you
care what
all.
to say. That's the log gabbing Republicans. I have so many problems with that group. Self-loathing, self-hating people. But they are part of the grift. They take in a ton of money every year just because they are gay and Republican. And they pretend they somehow have an influence on the Republican, but they don't. They don't. They're literally just a money grift. How much do you think she got paid for this one speech? How much do you think? Just guess. One speech. I'll give you a hint. It's more than a congressman makes in a year. More than a senator makes in a year. There you go. You people are getting it. One speech, $237,500. Yeah, they're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. That was the easiest money they ever made. It was a horrible speech, by the way. It was horrible. But you know what? The log cabin Republicans are more than happy to do this because, you know, they took a taste. They had some billionaire write them a check. They took a taste. So, yeah, I'll never promise you that the Trumps are going away. I will not. This is just, you know, it's like you feed a stray dog, you got a new dog. You feed a stray cat, you got a new cat. Yeah, these people, this is the easiest money they have ever made. Nobody's ever paid Melania Trump $250,000 for a 20-minute speech before in her life. Yeah, they're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. And it's not just them. It's not just them. And I'm going to circle back around to how we fight this. This is a right-wing Christian nationalist, a guy by the name of Tyler Russell. He's a right-wing Christian nationalist. He's talking about the scandal that broke about finding out that Russia is literally funneling hundreds of millions of dollars into the alt-right. This is what they're saying, folks. It's not just the log cabin Republicans that are more than willing to betray every person in the LGBTQ plus community for their taste. It's all of these people.
Yeah, I'm Team Lauren Chen all the way. I don't think it's a big deal, even if she did take money from Russia.
Lauren Chen is one of the people, they're still investigating who's been paid. Lauren Chen pumps out word for word Putin propaganda. And she's a big deal in these right-wing Christian nationalist circles. Listen to what he says.
Russian, yeah, it's not proven. Personally, I think that we could safely say that she did, based on what has been released.
She didn't put out a statement or anything, right? So I was like, well,
yeah, like it's still alleged, but
yeah,
I think it's kind of clear. I don't care. I'd take money from Russia, dude. I'd go on RT in a second. Yeah, I'm Team.
Yeah, they got no problem with this. They got no problem with this. The right wing didn't recoil at finding out that our enemy is paying for this propaganda. They said, pay me. I'm more than happy to do it. Send me some money. Yeah, folks. These people aren't going to disappear. What we can do is take their energy, take their audience away. Bandwagon effect is real. People want to be hanging out with winners. They do. And we keep making these people losers. They lose their funding. They lose their energy. They lose their audiences. But it's never going to go away completely. Never. Because this is the easiest money they've ever made. So yeah, you got to vote. You've got to vote. You can't not vote. There's nothing more important on election day or prior to election day. Nothing more important. But look, let's compare the vice presidents now. Okay. This is an appearance that JD Vance did. I'm not going to make you listen to him. The guy makes me sick. But yeah, he's out there talking about the price of eggs are $4. They used to be $1.50. They're $4. Okay, guy. First of all, you're not holding a dozen eggs. He says he's holding a dozen eggs. He's talking about a dozen eggs, a dozen eggs, a dozen eggs. Dude, you're holding a flat. That's 2 dozen eggs, okay, to begin with. But you're also standing in front of where you pick those eggs up. And they have the prices in really big numbers there that everybody can read. And you just told everybody that it was $4. No, it's not. Not in the store you're at. It's not. And again, who do you want to hire? You want to hire the guy that sits there and just right in front of the price tells you it's a different price and just treats you like you're freaking idiot, like a freaking idiot, and doesn't really do anything about the problems? Or do you want to hire the people? Because let me tell you why eggs got expensive. It wasn't just inflation. Eggs is one of the things where they did some price gouging, but they had, like I told you, best lies have a kernel of truth. Flocks were decimated with bird flu. They lost massive numbers of flocks twice here in the United. I love you people so much. I do. I love you people. The stuff y'all know is just amazing to me. It's just, it really is. I love spending time with you. Bird flu, yeah, wiped out entire flocks. Had to rebuild their flocks. Takes months. Supply and demand. Price of eggs went up. Happened twice over the last couple of years. Happened 3 times in China. Yeah, folks, there was a legitimate reason the price of eggs went up. You know what happened when that happened? The federal government went to work. The agricultural department just went to work. The Commerce Department went to work to try to make sure that this hit as softly as they could possibly make it hit, to help these producers get back up on their feet. And the producers are like, hey, we're not the ones gouging. We're getting killed. It's the distributor. And the distributor just got hit with a $17 million fine for price gouging. The middleman between the producers and the sellers just got hit with a $17 million fine for price gouging. Because, man, I tell you what, you had poultry farmers that were just, they were taken to social media. They were screaming at the top of their lungs, we're barely covering our costs. It's not us. They were doing videos from their barns. They were doing videos from their cold storage saying, look, you see these eggs? I am barely getting paid more than what it costs. I'll show you my numbers. Here's my numbers. It's not me. It's the next guy that's price gouging. And what did the Democrats do? They went after him. They fined them. Man, Linda, I was about to say those exact words. Regulations matter. It's a job. You're hiring somebody for a job. And it's not that craziness. Compare that to Tim Walz here.
All right, this thing, old school carburetor. You can always tell something about somebody's maintenance when how clean their air filter is. Look, to be able to work on this thing, you got a manual. It shows you exactly what to do to fix things on this. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance have a manual too. It's called Project 2025, and it's a way to stick it to the middle class by giving tax cuts to the wealthiest. Look, they didn't give me a manual for this if you didn't plan on using it to fix your truck. They didn't create that Project 2025 just to have it set around as a doorstop. We know who these guys are. We know they got a playbook to rig the economy. Let's make sure it doesn't. And you can always tell, again, somebody, if they keep a clean air filter, they do good maintenance.
Just the difference. I get it. 2 totally different subjects, but just the way they talk, the way they handle themselves, the way their priorities, you can see it. You can see it in who they are. You can see it. Treat it like you're doing a job interview. You had one guy that told you he was holding a dozen eggs that were $4 when he's holding a flat of eggs that were $2.99. That's 25% difference. Or you got the other guy that says, you know what? One, do good maintenance, and maintenance is important. And two, trust your eyes. You can see if someone's doing good maintenance. And three, if somebody writes you a manual, they mean to use it. They don't write manuals to be doorstops. They don't. I got a Harley Davidson. When I bought my Harley Davidson, I bought a manual. It was about that thick, and it was really freaking expensive because Harley Davidson produced it. Everything Harley Davidson produces is kind of expensive. They didn't write that because they wanted me to use it for a doorstop. No, they wrote it because they want me to do the maintenance on my vehicle. Same thing with Project 2025. The point he makes here is just, they didn't do Project 2025 because they thought it would sell, because people would just love it. No, that's not the kind of document it is. It's very policy specific. It's the kind of thing that your average voter pays no attention to. They wrote this on purpose. Oh man, I tell you what, I hope your coffee's as good as mine. Just got a fresh hot cup brought to me. But yeah, and it's not just the top of the ticket. We had Cody Grace on the last show talking about how important it is to vote down ticket and how bad we Democrats are about voting down ticket. This is Bernie Moreno. He's running for Senate in Ohio. Listen to what he says about abortion here. Well, this one pissed Mrs. Texas Paul off. She was using some unsavory language.
Sadly, by the way, there's a lot of suburban women. A lot of suburban women that are like, listen, abortion's it. If I can't have an abortion in this country whenever I want, I will vote for anybody else. Okay, a little crazy, by the way, but especially for women that are like past 50, I'm thinking to myself, it's an issue for you. Oh, thank God my wife didn't hear that one. I was in trouble. Sadly, by the way.
I know the audio is terrible in that, but what he's saying is, you women, you're 50 and over. What do you care about abortion? It don't apply to you anymore. Single issue voters, that's just stupid. Why are you women 50 and older even caring about that? As Mrs. Texas Paul so eloquently pointed out, dude, you've got a dick. Why do you care? Yeah. That's like telling a woman to calm down. That's just, take it from an old dude. Never tell your wife to calm down. Never say stupid stuff like that. Don't think stupid stuff like that. Don't be the kind of person that thinks stupid stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, that's who they are, folks. That's who they are. Yes, Sherrod Brown is running. He's running against Sherrod Brown in Ohio. You know what to do. You understand the assignment. That's the guy. That's the freaking guy. And there's way more. We could do a Bernie Moreno show about all the crap that is wrong with this guy. But I mean, really, folks, I mean, I other than letting them talk, letting them tell you who the hell they are. I mean, I can't think of a better way with credibility to show you what's at stake here. Thank you. I appreciate the support. I appreciate you. I mean, really, think of it as a job interview. And these are the people that you're hiring. And it's not just politicians. This is Mark Cuban. This is Mark Cuban talking about policies. Okay, Mark Cuban knows a little something about business. Mark Cuban and I probably disagree on probably about 70% of the things we talk about. But as far as business is concerned, we pretty much will agree. We do. I will give him that. He has been very successful in the companies that he's built. He is a legitimate billionaire 6 times over. Okay. This is what he has to say about this current race.
Donald Trump certainly has made an effort to support those larger companies through lower corporate rates, through other types of opportunities that he's created for him, but he's done nothing for the small business person, right? You hear Kamala Harris talking about efficiency when it comes to starting a business. You hear Kamala Harris talking about raising the deduction from 5,000, which is a meaningless number these days in starting a business, to 50,000, right? You hear her talking about child tax credits with, if you're starting a business and you can pay for childcare for, your children or child, that allows you the freedom to go start a business, right? So she's talked over and over again about the economic opportunities that she's trying to create for small to medium-sized business. And she's just used the term entrepreneurs and founders over and over again. You haven't heard that from Donald Trump at all, whether he was in office or since then. That's just not in his DNA. I asked a question on Twitter, had he ever invested in a startup or a company that didn't involve any of his relatives? And nobody could give me an answer, right? I didn't know the answer, and I didn't know what to expect, because there could have been 20 companies he helped somebody, friends of his son, friends of whoever. Nobody came up with a single company. And to me, that says volumes about who he is, because to me, it's rewarding when I go out and invest in startups, right? If I'm helping somebody else chase the American dream or reach the American dream, that's why I do Shark Tank, right? To help all these companies. It's a beautiful thing, right? That's what makes this country different than so many others. He doesn't think that way. And so he's not thinking in terms of smaller companies, startups, the Etsy companies, the eBay resellers, right? He could care less. And to me, that's a great failing. Well, Kamala on the flip side said, okay, we had 5 million or whatever business applications. We're going to 25 million, right? That's what drives the economy. 68% of jobs are from smaller companies.
All right. So we've looked at the applications of the 2 candidates. We've looked at their teams, and you just got a reference from a guy that knows what the hell he's talking about when it comes to business. Do you understand the assignment? I mean, do you understand the assignment? Do you get what you need to do? 41 days, people. 41 days. That's it. Less than 6 weeks. You know how fast 6 weeks is going to blow by? I mean, you're going to blink and we're going to be on November 6th wondering what the hell happened. This is what I need you to do. This is what I need you to do. You have less than 2 weeks in most states. Verify your registration. Republicans know elections are a blowout is 5 points, folks. 5 points. That's 5 in 100. If you can just get 5 people screwed up on election day, you win in a state that you would normally lose in a blowout. You have to check your registration. The second thing I need you to do, make a voting plan. And a voting plan has a backup plan. Okay? Understand, you need a voting plan, and your people need a voting plan. What that means is you need to sit down now when you have time to prepare for it, time to think about it. Think about, okay, I need to find my polling place. I need to find my polling place. I need to know, am I going to vote early? And if I'm going to vote early, what documentation do I need? When do I need to request my ballot? What are the deadlines? Where do I need to drop my ballot off at? These are all things that you need to know before the deadlines hit you. Formulate your voting plan. It doesn't take long. It doesn't take long. Everybody's got a smartphone. Sit down, Google it, 10 minutes out of your day, and you will have a plan in place. You'll know if you need a bottle of water in your pocket. You'll know, hey, you know what? I can give somebody a ride. My grandkids are just old enough to vote. I'm going to take them with me. That's a great one, Grandma and Grandpa. You folks out there with grandkids, reach out to your grandkids and say, come election day, we're going to do a family thing. We're going to go vote, and then we're going to have dinner. We're going to make pancakes. We're going to do whatever. That's the power of the gray hair, man. I'm telling you, you folks have way more power than you realize. You can get those grandkids to the polls. Do it. Make your voting plan. And let's do this. Because I want to spend this fall, I want to be thinking about pumpkins and pumpkin spice and Thanksgiving. Because this is what it really boils down to, folks. And this isn't hyperbole. If you're a right-winger, okay, let's take this from the perspective of a really right-winger. If you're a right-winger, if Kamala Harris wins, the worst thing that you're going to face is you might see some policies get implemented that you don't agree with. And you can speak out against those policies. You can work to overturn them. You can work to affect them. But that's the worst case scenario for you. Just trade policies, you know, just policies. That's it. You're going to have to deal with some policies that you may not like. Earth One Inhabitant, I appreciate the support, man. Late fee. I like that so much that I had to follow suit. Been a listener for a minute now. Thanks. I'm glad you're here. Now, if you elect Donald Trump, one, if you haven't read the 2025 project by now, shame on you. They gut our government. They're telling you this. They don't vet people and have people fill out employment paperwork if they don't intend to use them. And that is part of Project 2025, folks, is they've got these people hired already. All they're waiting for is the Trump administration to take power. That's why they call it the 2025 project, is in January, on January 21st, all of these people that they've already got the paperwork filled out, they rush that in. He fires everybody. He guts our institutions overnight. Overnight, our DOJ is no longer a DOJ. Our Department of Defense is no longer a Department of Defense. Our Department of Education is just gone, and on and on and on and on. This is really what happens. If you're a right-winger, our American way of life vanishes. Versus, you may have a few policies that you disagree with, most of it which you will agree with, because Democrats now are way too conservative for my liking. They just are. I'm pulling from the left. They're way too. A Democrat today would have been a Republican in the 60s and 70s. Just where we are politically. So yeah, really, folks, I mean, that's what we're looking at. Sharon Reddy, I'm predicting 54-43, and they'll lose 3 red states now. Get out there and vote to do that. Yes, that's what I was wrapping it up with. You get something for doing this, for making a voting plan and making it happen, getting 100 million people to the polls and winning overwhelmingly. You get something for that long term. It's a gift you get to give your kids. You get to bring sanity back to our politics. Because right now, if you're a normal in the Republican Party, they don't even want you. They don't. They don't even want you. Look what they just did. They tried to change the way Nebraska allocates its electoral votes 6 weeks away from the election. One Republican that is quasi-normal, a guy you wouldn't agree with on anything. If you're in my audience, I guarantee you wouldn't agree with this guy, McDonald. Said, no, that's not America. That's not how we do things. 6 weeks from the election, we are not going to turn around, and we're not going to we're not going to do this. We're going to hold a normal election the way we've been holding it. If you want to change the way our electoral votes are allocated, fine. We'll talk about that after the election. Not now. That's not normal. Trump attacked this guy. This guy is getting death threats. This guy is going to get run out of his own party, who he agrees with on 99% of the issues. They're going to run him out on a rail. Folks, that's this election. If you're a right-winger, that's this election. No normal for you. And if you do dissent with the cult, yeah, you're gone, baby. They don't want you. They want you out, period. Look, we've gone an hour and a half, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate you listening to me talk and all, me watching all the clips that I put out for you so you can see what they have to say. I appreciate you being here. Please hit the subscribe button. Let's get over 100,000 subscribers. We're close. Let's get over 100,000 subscribers. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. Just gives you benefits when you log into YouTube. You get to see my pretty face down at the bottom of the page. Victor says, Social Security payday. Thanks, Mr. and Mrs. Schroeder. Hey, I appreciate you, Victor. I appreciate the support, man. $20 is a lot of money, and I'm very grateful that you pay me to let me do this full time. On the way out the door, I've got some good news for you. We had some breaking news yesterday. Tanya Chutkan made a decision. She is going to allow Jack Smith to file his brief. The brief is what it's all about is the Supreme Court and their immunity ruling laid down a whole bunch of new framework that they have to work with them. Jack Smith said, look, I have crimes that I can prove that fall within your framework. I am going to illustrate all of that in a brief ahead of time so that it can be reviewed. It is not going to just end up dying on the floor of the Supreme Court. Everyone will see in the light of day what we are doing here and why this is legitimate before it gets sent up the chain and you folks can pretend, that there's some magical reason why you have to, bullshit that you have to support Trump and all this other stuff. Judge Chutkan said, yeah, file your brief. Let's do it all in the daylight. We're going to let this happen. So it's going to be filed in the next few days. Jack Smith will file it. She will review it to make sure that there are things in there like, that are redacted in there, like names and addresses of witnesses, anything that's considered too salacious, which you're not going to see because Jack Smith is not that kind of guy. But then it'll be published, and it'll be published in October. Before the election, you will have the opportunity. I will have the opportunity to download it and review it, and we will talk about it. And kudos to Judge Chutkan. There's nothing wrong with the light of day. If you cannot exist in the light of day under scrutiny, you people know who I am. On my I say it all the time when trolls come into my social media. Oh, look, you don't have your face, you don't have your name, you hide and you say horrible things. My social media, to contrast, has my face. It has my name. You know where I live. You know what part of the country I live in. You see me. If you can't live in the light of day, you have no business trying to lead people. You just don't. Folks, I love you folks. Thank you for being here. I know we went a little bit long today, but it's important work we're doing. This is important work we're doing. And you people are amazing. We have a great guest coming in on Friday. Be here. You don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss it. And on that note, enjoy some Texas cities at night.